Every Remembrance Day, Patrick Fogarty honors all those that have served and continue to serve in the Canadian military. Often, we focus on a battle that our soldiers participated in from prior wars, such as Vimy Ridge and Passchendaele from World War I, or Dieppe and D-Day from World War II. We've even looked at our presence in Afghanistan after the 9/11 attack.
This year, we wanted to take some time to look at things from the perspective of the most vulnerable and war-torn countries, the actual citizens of countries that have been unjustly invaded. With the ongoing situation in Ukraine, and the fact that we have refugees from Ukraine that have settled in our community, we felt it was important to learn more about their experiences. We want to be very clear about the fact that, unlike other conflicts, such as World War I and World War II, Canada has not officially sent troops for active combat to Ukraine since the Russian invasion began in February of this year. But the story of Ukrainians trying to stay in the country or flee in it is an all too familiar story of terror and uncertainty. It is a living example of modern warfare. Similar experiences were had by citizens in Vimy, France in World War I and the Netherlands in World War II, two places that Canadian soldiers did liberate from invaders.
Canada has supported Ukraine in a number of ways prior to and since Russia's most recent invasion. In September 2015, Canada launched Operation Unifier, Canadian Armed Forces military training and capacity building mission in Ukraine. Since March 2015, Canada has deployed Canadian civilian police officers to Ukraine through the International Police Peacekeeping and Peace Operations Program, which includes involvement from the RCMP. The program supports Ukrainian police reform through police deployments.
Matt Stoner, local area veteran, commanding armored vehicles in the Canadian military. He deployed to Ukraine for a year and 6 months, prior to the current Russian invasion. While he was there, he was training, developing, and mentoring the Ukrainian soldiers to assist them in their own self-defense against the Russian military. Matt Stoner's son, Curtis, is a grade 11 student here at Patrick Fogarty.
Now let's take a look at the story of Ukraine. In the aftermath of the 1917 Russian Revolution during World War I, a Ukrainian national movement reemerged and formed the Ukrainian People's Republic in the same year. For a few years, it was a new nation, but was forcibly reconstituted by the Bolsheviks into the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, which became a founding member of the Soviet Union in 1922.
You will see Ukraine as part of the Soviet Union in this photo, circled in red.
The Ukrainian SSR remained under control of the Soviet Union for decades, but by the late 1980s, there was a serious thaw in the Cold War, and independence for some republics seemed like a possibility for the first time in a long time. In November of 1989, the Berlin Wall came down. The wall was built by the Soviet Union in 1961, and it split the city in half. The Soviets controlled East Berlin, and the US, Britain, and France controlled West Berlin. If you tried to cross the wall from east to west, you would be shot dead. The fact that the Soviet Union allowed it to be knocked down was one of the most prominent signs that the Cold War might be coming to an end, and perhaps the Soviet Union would be open to even more drastic changes.
With lots of political unrest in many of the republics of the Soviet Union and a desire for independence, the USSR officially ceased to exist by the end of 1991. On December 25th of that year, the Soviet hammer and sickle flag lowered for the last time over the Kremlin, thereafter replaced by the Russian tricolor flag with a white, blue, and red stripe.
On December 1st of 1991, 92.3% of Ukrainians voted for independence from the Soviet Union in a referendum. Ukraine was an independent nation once again.
Ukraine enjoyed almost 23 years of independence when Vladimir Putin, in February of 2014, sent Russian troops to invade Crimea, the southernmost region of Ukraine. Putin would later annex Crimea and claim it as Russian territory. The United Nations declared that by December of 2021, the invasion that had started in 2014 cost 14,400 lives. 3,400 were civilians.
Putin's invasion of Crimea, his first in Ukraine, unfortunately would not be his last. On February 24th of this year, Russia invaded Ukraine from the north, east, and south.
This map reflects the movements of troops in May of this year. Russia's movement is in red, and Ukraine's is in purple.
This map shows Ukraine's current counteroffensive against Russian troops at the end of October. Again, purple represents areas held or regained by Ukraine.
This is the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, who has tried to lead and defend his country through this invasion. He became the country's leader in 2019.
Ukrainians fled their country in search of safety. As of September 30th, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees declared that 7.5 million refugees were recorded across Europe.
According to the federal government, 55,488 Ukrainians arrived in Canada between January 1st and June 26th. The government received over 343,000 applications under the new program for Ukrainians between March 17th and June 28th, and 146,461 were approved. Ukrainian families have settled in our area, in our city, and we have some students here at PF from Ukraine.
One of the families that made their way to Canada and into our area was the C.S.S family. They moved in across the street from the Healy family in June of this year. The Healys have gotten to know the C.S.S family quite well since this time. This is Anna, Pavlo, and their 4-year-old son, David. According to Mr. and Mrs. Healy, they are a wonderful family, and Pavlo and Anna would do anything for their son.
Anna and Pavlo have learned about some iconic Canadian rituals, like Tim Hortons and the famed Double Double.
This is a picture of the one and only David in the Healy house for one of his play days with Mrs. Healy. On June 14th, when they first met him, he could say hello in English. Over the past few months, they said it is astonishing how his English has improved. He has absorbed the language like a sponge absorbs water. He now attends Notre Dame Elementary School. His father, Pavlo, was telling the Healys how David's teacher said he was smart, and David added, cute and funny too. He loves playing games and also likes the Smurfs, especially Gargamel.
The Slezensky family lived in Lviv, in the western part of Ukraine, near Poland.
These images are from 2 separate Russian cruise missile attacks on Lviv in April and May of this year.
The violence continues each day in Ukraine. This is a video clip of a young lady in Kyiv walking in a park and doing a video blog. This occurred just last month. She says in Ukrainian, "My hands are shaking because I just saw a rocket fly and I heard it." We complain about a lot of things in this country, adults and teens alike. But imagine this being your reality if you simply try to go for a walk in a park in Aurelia.
У мене трясуться руки, тому що я щойно побачила, як летить ракета. І я почула це.
In this video, someone driving with a dash cam in the city of Dnipro captures what has become normal in daily life in Ukraine. Imagine if this type of violence was happening here in Canada. Imagine driving down Aurelia's main street and experiencing this.
This coffin holds the body of 4-year-old Lisa. Her mother was driving her to an appointment when a Russian missile hit the city of Vinnytsia in eastern Ukraine, far away from the front lines of the fighting. This was not a military target, it was a civilian target. At least 24 people were killed, including Lisa and 2 boys aged 7 and 8, and more than 200 were wounded, including Lisa's mother.
This is a crater left by a missile strike on a Kyiv playground just a month ago.
The unfortunate reality is that we could stand here, literally for hours, and tell you of the violence that continues to occur in Ukraine. The country wants to be free and live in peace, as it was prior to the war. We are very fortunate in Canada that we do live in peace. It is something that we, at times, probably take for granted. But true freedom is not a guarantee in life, and sometimes it has to be fought for and defended. As a nation, we need to realize that peace can be very fragile, as the situation in Ukraine unfortunately demonstrates.